Okay, so today we're going to make a video on how to make a Brooks blossom. First, let's take a look at the ones I pulled. I've got a hot pink lily, a cream daisy, a hot pink mum, a cream mum, and then a hot pink peony. And these are one of our awesome flowers that comes unassembled from China, so they're already in the parts. So if you notice, I only picked just 2 colors. You could pick 2 or 3. Typically anything more than that kind of might get to be too much. Okay, so here's the hot pink lily. And with the hot pink lily, we've got this piece on the back. Sometimes you'll see they have this piece on the back, but it's the same way that you remove it. You just very gently fold down the petals, and then you give that a twist until it just really gently comes off the stick. And then you have these petals here, and you want to gently peel them apart. They are going to be glued because they are pre-assembled. And you pull those apart, and you notice they are made of fabric, so even a gentle pull can sometimes fray it a little bit in the middle. And if it begins to fray, you don't want to use that in the middle, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I'm going to pull that off of the glue there. And then you have, so now we have those 4 pieces, and we have this little piece here, and you can sometimes pop it off, but if it's not wanting to pull off, then you can just take your scissors and get real close to it and just give it a little snip, and it's off. Okay, so this is the pieces of the lily. Now I went ahead and disassembled the Jabrera daisy and the mums, and like I mentioned, the peonies come apart. But the first thing I actually want to show is, since I build the flowers from the bottom up, we want our clips to look like this. And if you notice, the clips are straight on one side and bent on the other. And you always want your bent part to go toward the green part that's at the base, because the nice flat part will be up against the child's head when it's placed on the band. So that curved part kind of needs to go up, and you still have that place to grab it when you clip it on. So let me do 2 of these real quick. The other thing you're going to need is, if you notice there's a little piece of felt here, you can use felt circles, or you can cut little felt squares out of a piece of felt. First thing you want to do is clip it on there. And this is pretty much the easiest way that we found, and it stays on the best. And see the side that's bent, this is the side you want to put the glue. So I've got my hot glue. Put a nice generous amount there. And you just want to take your little plastic green stuff, and then that felt you won't really burn yourself too bad. You just kind of pinch right there and get that on there, and then what that does is you don't have any glue here. So we're going to set that aside and let that cool. So we have our original and then our new one here. Let's do one more. So again, keep leaving the flat side out, and the bent side here is where you want to put the glue. There we go, nice and generous. And then we're going to clip that, push that into this clip here. Just give it a little pinch downward. Just want to watch, you don't want to burn yourself on that part in the middle there. Okay, and now we have 3 nice little clips ready to go to build some blossoms. And these materials that I have can easily make 3 flowers. So since we're building from the bottom up, before I do the building, I like to kind of do my layering. So I'm going to grab some flower parts here. Maybe a couple of the giant peonies here. Now one thing you want to notice is when you're getting your petals lined up, you don't want them to line up. If you want a nice fuller look, then you want them to kind of alternate there. See how that's nice and full? And then we can get a piece of the giant mum. Now I want to point out real quick, these parts here that come out of the flowers, typically we don't use. I have seen a few that come back, but we usually, for the centerpieces, we tend to replace them with the nice sparkly little crystals. The kids like those. Okay, so back to this. We've got 2 or 3 petals of each, just to make it nice and full. You tend to not need these as much, these parts that you would find in a silk flower, just because we put on so many different petals. 3 there. And then actually sometimes when we're adding these in, we can begin to mix them do one of those, and then go back to a mum here. Kind of give it a nice, interesting texture. And then I love the lilies. I love the way they look. You can go either way with them, depending on what you want when you're designing. But I don't tend to like the lily as the center, so I try to find something else. And in this case, I've got this nice, pretty piece from the Jabrera. Kind of just gives it a little bit more detail. So that's kind of going to be our goal for our finished flower here. So I flip it over, and like I said, I layer it from the bottom up. So I just start putting on some glue. I have found this way I burn my fingers less than if I go from the top down. I say that now, I'm going to burn myself, you'll see. Okay. Just start putting glue. It's real important to try to not get a bunch of glue on the petals as you're going, like I just did. Okay. And the nice thing about these glue guns is they really stick nicely to the fabric. And I'm just kind of pinching it in there. This one's going to be a nice full giant headband. And again, one thing I always try to make sure I'm doing is just keeping it very centered to that back piece as I'm going. Give that a little press there. Kind of nice the way that glue just kind of comes up the middle. Always have a little bit there for you. Spreading it around. Like I said, I'm pretty generous with the glue. Sometimes I'll use a whole stick just on one little flower. Like I said, sometimes I like to put these lilies on upside down. Kind of gives it a little cup. It was actually an idea I stole from my mom. And then when you're putting on these petals, just kind of make sure that they're not lined up. You want to make sure they're really alternating in there. See how pretty that looks? And then usually, for this last one, I'll go ahead and put, sometimes you have pieces that are already on the stone. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. There we go. So it'll cup up around the stone, and then put glue here. And that's so I don't burn my finger. I do it this way. And I can just take it with my thumb there and press it in and hold the bottom and really give it a nice firm, because some of that in there is still warm and wet, and just give it a nice firm squeeze, really some pressure in there, and that helps it later not want to fall apart. Wow, and that's a nice big beautiful Brooks blossom. And again, we've got this piece on the back, it's nice and secure, not going to come off, got it glued together. Wonderful.